It is okay not to have all the answers. When I said that to one of my clients on a recent Q&A call, I wish someone had explained this to me when I started doing consulting work. What if I don't know enough? Was a huge fear that ran the show in my mind when I started my first business. And in fact, I turned down a lot of opportunities to get more exposure because of it. I thought that the only way to show expertise was to always have an answer for everything. So when the question came up the other day, Melissa, but how do I sell it if I've never solved this specific problem before? What if I don't have all the answers? I realized that this fear of not knowing enough was blocking other people too. Now, here's what I've discovered after years of doing this work. The most successful consultants don't have all the answers. What they have is something far more valuable. They have a framework. And today I'm going to show you why having a framework is more valuable than having all the answers, and how to create a framework that positions you as the expert in your field. By the end of this episode, you'll understand what a framework really is, why it's key for commanding premium fees, and I'll walk you through how to create your own framework. Let's start by clarifying what a framework is, because I realize a lot of people confuse it with a methodology or a process. Think of your framework as a general structure that supports everything you do to help take a client from where they are to where they want to go. Think of your framework as the foundational structure for solving a problem. It's a set of guiding principles that gives you a reliable path to follow without being overly rigid. Your framework should be intentionally loose. There should be some flexibility built into it. But the framework itself is there to help us make sure that our work, that our analysis is complete, that nothing is left out, nothing is doubled up, and nothing is overlooked. A methodology gets more into the specifics. That's where we start to break things down into how we're going to execute in that specific case. What are the rules we're going to play by, the tasks or activities that we'll undertake, what specific deliverables we'll provide. That's all part of the methodology. Getting even more granular, we get into the processes. For instance, what are the steps we have to take to complete a task? What are the decisions we have to make? Let me give you a really practical example with baking cookies. A 5-part framework for making cookies would be: part 1, assess who you're baking for, the number of people, the dietary restrictions, preferences. Part 2, select the right recipe for your audience. Part 3, gather your ingredients. Part 4, prepare the cookies. And Part 5, serve and get feedback. That's the framework. It works whether you're making chocolate chip, oatmeal, or gluten-free cookies. Now, the methodology will get into which specific recipe you choose. Are you going to use grandma's recipe, or are you going to use a new one from Pinterest? And the process is the step-by-step. Preheat the oven to 350. Cream, butter, and sugar for 2 minutes. Add eggs one at a time. Do you see the difference? Framework is the overall structure. Methodology is your chosen approach, and the process is the exact steps. So let's tie this back to our fear of not knowing enough. People don't expect you to always have the answer right then and there to every single question they could come up with. They don't expect you would have seen their exact same situation before. What they do want is to know you have a framework for solving their problem, for evaluating their case, for helping them get to the solution and eventually achieving their goal. And the icing on the cake that gives them even more confidence in saying yes is knowing that your framework has consistently worked. So let's take this to a situation you're all familiar with. Think about going to a doctor. The doctor's framework is something like this. She asks you questions first about what's going on. Then she looks at the quantifiables, the data, the lab tests. She does a physical exam. imaging, whatever the case. Then she analyzes the problem, investigates if needed, comes up with a diagnosis, and gives you a plan. That is the framework. This is how doctors accumulate experience and are able to answer most of our questions. Now imagine if you go to the doctor and she says, your blood tests are perfect, you're gaining weight, you're fatigued, and you're not sleeping. I've never seen this combination before, so I'm sorry. I don't know enough to help. She would absolutely not do that. The doctor investigates, she looks deeper, she does a physical exam, she orders new labs. That is what I'm talking about when I say framework. You know your doctor will take you from symptoms and your questions to a plan. A few weeks ago, I had a doctor appointment, and I am a total geek. I love going to the doctor. I actually prepare for my appointments. And so I walked in and I told the doctor, I have so many questions today. And she just laughed and she said, oh gosh, I hope I passed the test. By the end of the appointment, there were a few questions she wanted to consult with another specialist on. There was one question that she said she'd have to do some research, even though she jokingly said at the end, how'd I do? Did I pass? Truth is, I felt grateful when she said she was going to consult with another specialist and investigate. It felt like VIP treatment, like she cared about finding a solution for me. It never felt to me like she didn't know enough. That's what our clients want too. And just as we know we are unique cases for our doctor and we want to be treated like a unique case, so do our clients. It's normal to not have seen the exact same situation before. I always tell my doctor she is the best doctor in the world because she treats me like a patient and not a pathology. And that is what our clients want too. They want their individual circumstances to be taken into account in finding the best solution. And that's why I say there has to be flexibility built into the framework because you will select the methodology and processes according to each specific case. Now, the question is, where do I even start for defining my framework? The good news is you don't have to start from a blank piece of paper. Find a framework that you can apply, and then you start to tweak it to get better results. For instance, one of my favorite frameworks in marketing is Donald Miller's StoryBrand framework. I recommend all of his books, courses, programs. I think I've done them all. But as I started applying his framework, I realized a few things were missing, at least for the specific problem that I solved for my clients. The framework was powerful, it just was a bit too general. And so I started adapting it, incorporating the things that mattered for my client. And in doing so, I started building my own framework. As I got more clear on what solving the entire problem looked like for my clients, my framework began to solidify. Now I use frameworks for everything: marketing, branding, creating packages, creating offers. Every aspect of my business has a framework. I actually create tables for each client and I fill them out as I take them through my frameworks. But it doesn't stop there. I read a lot of books, probably one every 2 to 3 weeks. And I distill a framework from every book I read. I actually create a table with the author's repeatable process. Then I look at, can I use something here to enhance one of my own frameworks? That means I have a potpourri of frameworks that I can draw on for anything in business. And I bring them all together in ways that no one else has ever done before, and I enrich them as I go. Each one of my frameworks came from deep expertise in solving a specific problem over and over again. So now that you understand what a framework is, why it matters, and how to start, so now that you understand what a framework is, why it matters, and how to start, let me walk you through how to create your own and give you a specific consulting example. First, you have to get crystal clear on the specific problem your client's facing. We are in business to solve problems, so we have to understand what problem we're solving so that the outcome we create through our framework for our client is actually relevant for them and it's so valuable that they'll pay us. Let's take the example of a confidence coach. Say the problem is that clients are terrified to get on stage. They tremble, their mouth goes dry, they forget their words, and this is holding them back from leadership positions and from new opportunities. They're scared to even apply for a new job. Now that we understand the problem, second, we need to dig into what's causing the problem. Understand what's really behind it. Go deep. Is it something in the physical world? Is it emotional? Is it operational? Is it knowledge or skill set related? Is there some constraint involved? What about a regulator or government? Is there some external entity that's causing the problem? So back to our confidence coach example. Is it trauma? Were they publicly humiliated before? Is it mindset? I'm not good enough. People will judge me. I'll look stupid. Is it personality? Are they an introvert or a perfectionist? What about skills gaps? Maybe they've never been taught how to structure a talk, or they have no practice presenting. Maybe it's physical. Maybe they stutter or have reactions they can't control. Maybe it's lack of preparation. They don't have a system for preparing, so they end up winging it and they fail. So that's how our confidence coach goes deeper. Third, categorize it. How do we put these factors we listed in step 2 into buckets? How do we group them together? So for our confidence coach, this might look like 3 buckets: mindset, skills, and body. Fourth, name your framework. It's important to make your framework simple and memorable and fun if you can, and make sure the name relates to the problem it solves. So for our confidence coach, this may be the Stage Ready System or the Confident Speaker Framework. And then, always as a 5th step, refine it as you use it more, as you test it out. I just added a completely new part to my framework around monetization models because I realized that my clients were constrained by the limited models that they were familiar with. So they were missing out on an entire world of possibilities they didn't even know existed. For instance, our confidence coach may realize that her clients need accountability and they need a community of other speakers to practice with. So she adds a support system to her framework. And here's a bonus for you for listening until the end of the episode. People always ask me, how can I guarantee my service? Especially if they're suffering from I don't know enough. Your guarantee as a consultant is that you will apply your framework. You can't take full ownership of the results because clients have agency. If they skip steps, if they don't implement, if they try to shortcut with AI, you can't control that. But what you can guarantee is this: if they follow your framework, they will get a certain type of result. That's the power of a proven system. So let's recap what we've covered today about frameworks. First, what a framework actually is. It's your flexible but complete system for analyzing and solving a specific type of problem. It's not rigid like a process, but it is structured enough that you never miss a critical piece. Second, having a framework doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you have a proven approach for finding them. Just like my doctor doesn't need to have seen my exact same case before. She has a framework that gets great outcomes. Third, how to create your framework. Get crystal clear on the specific problem you're solving. Dig deep into all the causes: physical, emotional, operational, skill-based, external. Group those causes into logical buckets. This is your framework structure. Name it something memorable that relates to the problem it solves. And refine it constantly as you use it. Your framework evolves with your experience. Your framework is how your expertise bridges the client's current situation to their desired outcome. It's what allows you to say, here's my repeatable system that consistently gets results for people like you, instead of just saying, trust me. That repeatable system is what commands premium fees. That's what gives the clients confidence to move forward. And that's what positions you as the expert in your field. Having a framework does not mean you have all the answers. It means you have a way to get them. So here's your challenge. Start documenting the patterns you see in your clients' work. What questions do they always ask? What obstacles do they always face? What sequence do you naturally follow when you work with them? What frameworks have you learned or read that you can apply in new ways? That's how your framework emerges. Don't force it, let it reveal itself through your expertise. I'm Melissa Marchand, helping accomplished professionals build consulting businesses they love. If you know someone who's struggling to articulate their unique approach and who thinks they need to have all the answers before they can consult, please share this episode with them.